Probably the most criticised part of Pirate Yakuza is its terrible story. Even as someone who actually likes the game, I can agree the story is terrible. Nothing happens after the first chapter, and the only scene that has anything of substance is the post-credit scene. The rest of the game is just padding. It has characters that had nothing to the plot and it just goes nowhere. Name your top 5 character moments from the character Jason Rich, because I bet you fucking couldn't. With that in mind, it kind of pisses me off that Pirate Yakuza at some point was intended to have an actual story or substance. Just like most modern Yakuza games, we don't really have much in-depth information from the developers themselves. Through some interviews with Yokoyama through IGN and PlayStation before Pirate Yakuza's release, it did reveal some information about early versions of Pirate Yakuza's story. He said that Pirate Yakuza would detail what the former Yakuza were doing after the second Great Dissolution in Infinite Wealth, which did kind of happen in the game, but was far from a major plot point. It was really just here and there in like chapter 2 and like chapter 4. What I do find funny is that Pirate Yakuza didn't actually start as a pirate Majima game, but did start as a game called Like a Dragon Tuna, where Kiryu would fight fishermen. Yokoyama also stated that Majima will be exposing his true self as the story unfolds. If you play the game, you know that barely happens. Majima has his memories gone for most of the game, then gets hit on the head by the giant squid, then remembers everything. It really does feel like Majima was supposed to have more of a character arc throughout the game that never made it to the final game. Unfortunately, that's where official information for the early plot of Pirate Yakuza ends. However, on the 14th of May 2024, a leak appeared on 4chan giving a ton of accurate details about Pirate Yakuza 4 months before its release. It got most details correct with Majima as a protagonist, the pirate theming and the name of Madlantis. This confirmed that this leak is real, as you just can't guess shit like this. With all the information that became true in the final game, 2 parts of the 4chan leak stand out as they were never in the final version of Pirate Yakuza. The leak states that Yakuza tattoos are the key to recovering his memory, and certain events from the series will be revisited through Majima's point of view. If you ever played Pirate Yakuza, you know that neither of these are actually in the fucking game. Even though the leak could be wrong, it would be extremely weird if they just lied here, and even though the rest of the leak is accurate to what we got. So the question is, what would this add to the story, and would it have even made the story good? The most simple of these would probably be the tattoos. I would assume the tattoos would be placed around Honolulu for the players to find, like the Memoirs of a Dragon from Infinite Wealth. I don't really know why these would have been removed, other than just not having enough past Majima content to make the feature worthwhile. Kiryu's a main playable character in 9 games before Infinite Wealth, giving more than enough memories, events and characters to fill the 90 memoirs in his half of Infinite Wealth. However, Majima only had 2 playable roles in Yakuza 0 and Dead Souls, with the Majima cycle. Who fucking cares about the Majima cycle? With the rest of his appearances only being as a side character, with his actual on-screen presence being minimal in games like 6, 7 and Skyrim. As a result of this, I doubt Majima would have enough content to fill this entire side mode. On top of this, Kiryu's growth in this mode leads to a boost in turn-based combat, which will be pretty difficult to translate over to Pirate Yakuza's real-time combat, but without these, the player has very little incentive to actually collect all the tattoo memories. Now being the other part of the leak, being the revisited past scenes from other games. The flashbacks to old scenes in Majima's perspective don't really have a clear place where they would be in the story. It is very possible that the scenes that lead to these cutscenes were removed at some point in development, or the cutscenes currently in the game were just reworked to remove them. I feel it may have also been connected to the Yakuza 2 system, as previously mentioned. In Infinite Wealth's Memoir of a Dragon, you unlocked a cutscene when reaching certain thresholds where Kiryu would meet past characters, such as the orphanage kids or Wakayama. I feel it would have been likely that Majima's flashbacks would have shown up after collecting enough tattoos. The question still stands though, why were they removed? If we're being realistic, it is because making new assets for these scenes would be costly, and Pirate Yakuza had a budget of like £8. Making these cutscenes would need recreations of assets from past games to be used, as well as new mocap due to these cutscenes being from Majima's perspective. With all this being gone, it really led to Majima having little to no arc in Pirate Yakuza, which is a shame. The man who erased his name, and especially Dark Ties, gave the character they were based on a pretty major arc, so it's a shame that Majima didn't get the same treatment. I do hope that future Guardian games are more like Dark Ties, where the character they are based on gets a good amount of character growth, but only time will tell if that actually happens. That's all I really have to say about the 4chan leak. I hope you enjoyed this. It's my first time I have ever tried doing anything like this. I plan to do a video on Sonic Racing Cross Worlds beta and all its removed content in the future, so please subscribe if you're interested. Anyway, thanks and goodbye.